The three secrets of Fatima are considered one of the biggest recorded miracles of the Vatican. Due to the contents of what was revealed in the third secret, it is still held in controversy. It all began on May 13th in 1917 in Fatima, Portugal, when three children reported having seen an apparition of the Virgin Mary. For 6 months, on the 13th of every month, the visions repeated, and every month a new revelation was given to the children. Mary promised a miracle for the last vision, which became famously known as the miracle of the sun, witnessed by reporters and photographers, which, according to their accounts, yes, the sun danced outside all cosmic law. One of the predictions that the apparition gave the children that came true was that the two children would die young, which did happen, the boy of influenza and the girl by purulent pleurisy and diseased ribs. Another prophecy came to be as well. The prophecy was, when you see the night that's lit up by an unusual light, it will be a sign of God that war is coming. And in 1938, 21 years later, the aurora borealis on January 25th, in an unprecedented fashion, had gone so far down that the aurora was seen from Scotland, Africa, and even London, with many parts of the world giving their various reports. And in February 4th, a week after the aurora, Hitler promoted himself military chief of Germany, which ultimately started World War II. There was a point when the officials thought that the children were making it up, and under bribery of money and even death, the children remained true to their story, saying they would rather die than not tell the truth. As for the three secrets, the first secret was a vision of hell. The second secret was the instructions on how to get out of hell. And the third, though hard to find because it is still held in secrecy and controversy, is believed that the attempted assassination of John Paul II on May 13th in 1981 was a part of the secret. But according to Lucia, the eldest of the children, she was upset and said that the full revelation of the third secret wasn't fully divulged, though she did confide in someone who asked Lucia on what was the third secret regarding, and she responded, "It's in the Gospel and the Apocalypse. Read them." She also confided to F.R. Fuentes that the Virgin Mary made her see clearly, according to Lucia, we are living in the end times, or as we will see it in this video, the end of an age. It is important to note that the word the Bible actually uses in regards to the end times is the Greek word eon, and eon means a long span of time, or an age. So it's not the end of the world as it is commonly misunderstood, but the end of an age. Even the Bible says it itself that not even the angels in heaven know when that day will come in regards to the end of the world. We will elaborate more on this in a moment as to how this ties into other prophecies tied into the same time frame, and on how this is a transition of an age and not the end of the world. There was a pope in the 12th century named Saint Malachi. He prophesied the coming of the popes after him, and counted only up to 111. The 112 popes is not a part of the original Saint Malachi prophecies, and was added by the Olivetan monks in the 1500s, so this does not fit the original 111 popes of Saint Malachi. He even predicted the date and the time of his own death, and was correct. He gave a general description as to the characteristics of the coming popes, and historians say that he was pretty accurate. The odd thing is that the 111th pope was Pope Benedict, who according to himself resigned due to his age, and he was a pope of 2012. Coincidentally, the year the Mayan calendar ends, which according to the Mayans is when the Fifth World or a New Age would begin. We will see how this strange coincidence aligns to others in a moment. The Obama Prophecy. In a reputable Forbes magazine, we find that there is an Islamic prophecy that seems to pertain to Barack Obama. It was found in a Shiite text in the 17th century. It prophesied that at the end times, or age, just before the return of the Mahdi, or ultimate savior, a tall black man would assume the reins of government in the West, commanding the strongest army on the earth. The new ruler will carry a clear sign from the third Imam, whose name was Hussein ibn Ali. The tradition concludes Shiites should have no doubt that he is with us. Obama's family name, written in Persia, where the Middle East now sits, alphabets reads Obama, which means he is with us. Interesting how before Obama was Christian, he was Muslim, the only American president that was ever Muslim. Is this a coincidence? Saint Faustina was born August 25th. 1905, who reportedly said she had many times had visions of Jesus and conversed with him, which are recorded in her diary, Divine Mercy in my soul, with the Divine Mercy having more than 100 million Catholic followers. During one of her prayers, Jesus tells her, I have a special love for Poland, and if she is obedient to my will, I will exalt her in might and holiness. From her will come forth the spark that will prepare the world for my final coming. John Paul II was Polish, and the 110th Pope right before Pope Benedict. Could this have been in regards to the papacy of John Paul II? Edgar Cayce is considered the best psychic of the 21st century. He has been accurate with predictions from finding things such as oil wells to cures, discovery of lost civilizations such as the Essenes, amongst many other successful predictions. He is estimated to have recorded more than a staggering 14,000 readings ranging from all sorts of topics, and he also spoke of a time of an age shift into a new era. He was asked, what changes, or the beginning of what great change, if any, is to take place in the earth in the year 2000 to 2001 AD? He answered, when there is a shifting of the poles, or a new cycle begins. This was indeed the case. It was recorded that the magnetic pole shifted about 43 miles in the year 2000, according to National Oceanic Atmospheric Administrations. The magnetic field was first identified in 1831. It was relatively stable, and now there are definite signs of the magnetic pole shifting. It is a strange coincidence that Edgar Cayce did this reading on an August 11th. This is the exact same day the Mayans' 13th and final Bakhtin began in August 11th, 3114 BC, regarding once again a cycle of time. Nostradamus was a prophet from the 1500s who also spoke of a coming age of 1,000 years of peace starting a new age. In his life, he was tested by Signor de Florenville, who asked Nostradamus, with 2 pigs shown to him, which one will they be eating tonight? Nostradamus chose the black pig, and Signor de Florenville privately told the cook to cook the white one to prove Nostradamus wrong. But some dogs ate the cooked white pig, so he had to cook the black one instead, which made Nostradamus right. His ability to see things into the future in his life made him a man of renown, that even the Queen of France used him as an advisor. He said that before the 1,000 years of peace would begin, that certain things would happen. In his writings, specifically Century 6, Quatrain 97, he says, the sky will burn at 45 degrees latitude. Fire approaches the great new city. Immediately, huge scattered flames leap up when they want to have verifications from the Normans. Some say this is a reference to the 9/11 attacks of 2001 on the Twin Towers. The new city is New York, and the Normans may actually be a reference to the North Americans. The scattered flames leap up is the collision of the planes with the Twin Towers. And a strange fact is that he mentions 45 degrees latitude. Well, New York lands right on the 45th parallel latitude. This could not have been known considering that New York wasn't even established during the time of his prediction. The Mayans are a highly mysterious culture that existed and flourished about 1400 years ago. They are pretty much the reason behind the 2012 end of the world craze that was highly misunderstood. So this is quite apparently misinterpreted by the masses, no thanks to popular culture. The simple fact behind December 21st, 2012 was or is not about the end of the world, but according to the Mayans, the end of a specific calendar cycle or age of the Mayans, to start a new cycle. And according to the Mayans, we are exiting what they call the fourth world and are entering the fifth world. According to the Mayans, this fifth world is considered the age of the gods, or the time when man will slowly begin to remember his divinity and his inseparable connectedness to his creator. Considering that the Mayans were right about their prediction of the arrival of the Spaniards to the Americas on March 5th, 1519, as written in their calendar, predicting the very exact same date, then maybe they might be right about this idea of an age shift, as we have been learning how other prophecies seem to tie into the very same time frame as other prophecies, who are ultimately speaking about the same thing, the idea of man's progression into higher states of self-realization. The UGAs of India. The UGAs of India refer to the 4 ages that man constantly cycles through as an ascending arc of evolution and a descending arc of devolution, and these cycles are ongoing, though over a very long period of time. The 4 yugas are Satya, Treta, Dvapara, and Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is the lowest, and Satya is the highest. We have presently entered Dvapara Yuga, which pertains to more spiritually ascended virtues, though not completely fully merged in the fully divine realized state, say as with Satya Yuga. It is a strange coincidence that Kali Yuga, the lowest of the ages, started 12 years prior to when the Mayans' 13th Bhaktim began, on August 11th, 3114, with these calendars ultimately talking about the same thing, man's progression to divine realization, though these cultures supposedly never met. The Astrological Ages. The Greeks had a system of ages as well, measured as the 12 signs of the zodiac, with a new debate about the 13th symbol. Once again, each sign represents the various cycles the human race goes through in their developing evolution. We are exiting the Piscean Age and have entered the Age of Aquarius around the year 2000 AD, according to professional astronomical chartings, which is considered the Golden Age. The Bible's Book of Revelation. Revelation is about the time of the apocalypse, which in Hebrew is defined as a revealing of, and not as a time of global destruction as it is also commonly misunderstood as. And in the Bible it says that it will happen at not the end of the world once again, but at the end of an age, an eon. This is also the time to be considered when the second coming of Christ, or Christ consciousness, will return. Remember, Christ is not a name, but a level of attainment, which means the anointed one, or the enlightened one. So therefore you have another reference of that enlightened consciousness returning at the end of an age cycle. And if the visions of the 3 children at Fatima hold true, then this time is now. We will get to the potential evidence of this consciousness and its apparent return in a moment. The Hopi prophecy was recorded around 1959 when a minister named David Young stopped to offer an elder Indian a ride, who was known as Whitefeather, a Hopi Indian. After a moment of silence, the elder introduced himself and shared with a reflection of his life's past and his learning of its wisdom, then introducing various prophecies that had come to pass and those that were still to come, and that these prophecies were signs that the 4th world was ending and the 5th world would begin, strangely similar to the Mayan and the Aztec description of world ages. First sign, we are told of the coming of white-skinned men like Pahana, but not living like Pahana, who took the land that was not theirs, and men who struck their enemies with thunder. This was in regards to the first American settlers and guns. Second sign, our lands will see the coming of spinning wheels filled with voices. This was of the first settlers who came with their families in wagons. Third sign, a strange beast like a buffalo, but with great long horns, will overrun the land in large numbers. This was the coming of the settlers with cattle. Fourth sign, the land will be crossed by snakes of iron. This was railroads. Fifth sign, the land shall become crossed by a giant spider web. This was telephone wires, and some people say the internet, the World Wide Web. Sixth sign, the land shall be crossed with rivers of stone that make pictures in the sun. This was highways that reflect the heat of the sun through mirages. Seventh sign, you will hear of the sea turning black and many living things dying because of it. This is in regards to oil spills. Eighth sign, you will see many youth who wear their hair long like my people come and join the tribal nations to learn their ways and wisdom. This was the hippies of the 1960s, something that happened after this prophecy. Ninth and final sign, you will hear of a dwelling place in the heavens above the earth that shall fall with a great crash. It will appear as a blue star. Very soon after this, the ceremonies of my people will cease. The first space station was set up in 1986 by the Russians called Mir, and in March 2001, the space station came crashing into the South Pacific Ocean. This is a picture of the space station burning up in the atmosphere in re-entry over Nadi, Fiji, and it is a blue luminescent hue that lights up the space station. 2001 is not far from approaching 2012. These prophecies are fascinating in themselves, but if we can find some evidence that this higher consciousness does exist and has returned, this would no doubt further confirm that the seers of the past might have very well been onto something after all. A book was released in 2015 where the prophecy in this video came from, as well as goes more into depth with these prophecies, including some other prophecies as well, called Things Magical Once Hidden Revealed, that gives stunning evidence that this consciousness does exist and holds a profound case for its return as we now know it during the time at the end of an age. It is divided into two parts. First, the research on the age shift in regards to prophecy, science, synchronicity, and 2012, and the second half about the author's direct experience of this higher consciousness that indeed are states of Christ consciousness. This book will clearly come to show that 2012 is nowhere near an outdated subject. There are some fascinating facts found in this book, as well as a lot of strange coincidences. For instance, such as with the author Joe Puente and Pope Benedict, who was the 111th Pope as well as the Pope of 2012. Both names are Joseph. Pope Benedict was born on April 16, 1927. The author was born on April 16, 1977. Pope Benedict was the 111th prophesied pope. The gematria for the name Joe Puente is 111. Gematria is an esoteric number system that is further explored with intriguing facts in this book. Pope Benedict represents the historical Christ. The author has had many experiences in what is called Christ consciousness. There is strange evidence found with stories of reincarnations where it seems that a birthmark is found where a past life trauma occurred. Case in point, here is a story of a boy who not only remembered his past life, but solved the murder of his past life as well. In a place near Syria, a 3-year-old boy took a group of elders to a place where he was murdered. Dr. Eli Lash was one of the witnesses who witnessed the whole story. A body was in fact found where the boy said the body was buried and would be found. Strangely, the wound on the dead body corresponded to a birthmark on the boy's head. The boy said he was murdered with an axe and pointed to the elders where the axe was also buried and found. He then took them to the village where he lived and gave them his name. And asking the villagers of this name, they said that he had disappeared 4 years earlier. Remember, the boy was 3. He then confronted his killer, and the man began acting strangely and denied he killed the man. But when the boy took the elders to where the body was buried, only then did the man admit to the crime and therefore was imprisoned for the crime. In so saying, there is a strange coincidence on how the author has a lighter-skinned birthmark exactly where Jesus experienced the spear of destiny, which resembles a spear mark. Not saying that this is the case of the reincarnation of Jesus, but perhaps of the author's own reincarnational path to Christhood. A few fascinating experiences are had with this birthmark, one being that while with the author's third eye open, he sees this astral light project onto this birthmark, giving the vision as if there is an astral light shining on this lighter-skinned birthmark, as well as other interesting stories with this birthmark, giving further credence that this consciousness has somehow returned, and this is only a speck of this point. There is another unusual experience when number 3 keeps coming up in the meditations. Then later, a psychic says 3 keeps coming up in your life, which was correct, and later a synchronistic code is found with this very number in the book, 33.3 specifically. We'll get to what this means in a moment. Jesus was 33 when he taught, and taught for 3 years, 33.3. He was crucified at 33 and resurrected 3 days later, 33.3. Jesus' transfiguration happened on Mount Hermon, which is located exactly at the parallel of 33.3 longitude as well as 33.3 latitude. The recorded time of Jesus' death, it is said, happened when the moon turned blood red. This is indicative of a lunar eclipse, and the only lunar eclipse during the time of Jesus over Jerusalem was on April 3rd, 33 AD. According to Wikipedia Religion by Country, there is reportedly 33.3 of the globe that is Christian. The spiritual kundalini energy that rises up the 33 bones of the spine climbs to awaken the third eye, 33.3. The gematria for the word kundalini in Hebrew alphabet is 333. Is this why the psychic said that 3 keeps coming up in the author's life? The book goes much further with the number 3 as well as other strange coincidences and facts. With the help of David Flynn, we find that 33.3 degrees of the Earth is 2012.9 nautical miles, with these exact numbers corresponding to the Mayan calendar end date of December 21st, 2012. Are you now seeing the connection between 33.3, Christ consciousness, and now 2012 in this strange synchronistic language? As I said, this is only a glimpse of what this book covers on this subject, and of course there is more to it than this. This is only a glimpse to get the story started, as it takes you through those higher states of consciousness that anyone can experience. As the puzzle pieces of the story build, the reality of the inner realms become more clear and tangible, and only then can you understand who you truly are and what we are all capable of achieving. For ultimately you are that gift that you are seeking.